All right, and welcome to my Facebook Live digital series. This is Doyle Buehler, and today I'm doing my digital leadership breakthrough guest, and I've got a really great guy from Florida who's I guess semi-preparing for the upcoming hurricane. Hopefully, it won't get too bad there. But David Yarde is going to be joining with us shortly, and we're going to be talking about branding and user experience, and I guess he has a little inroad to Batman, and hopefully he'll get into that story as well. So, but we're going to be talking about the branding rather, and user experience, as well as some community aspects as well. So, and David will introduce himself coming up, but he runs an agency down in the Orlando area in Florida. So, looking forward to that, to talking about that. So, what I wanted to talk about today is again, this is the Facebook Live series. I'm Doyle Buehler, and my goal is to help you better understand and pursue what matters most in your digital business and how to make a difference with your digital strategy through enhancing, embracing your digital leadership, which is what I talk about a lot. I help enterprise and entrepreneurs scale, grow, and disrupt their business and sales through digital leadership. And I'm the author of the book on digital strategy, The Digital Delusion. The overall purpose of these is to answer one important question: what real-world digital strategies actually work for my business? And of course, there's no one-size-fits-all, but the goal here is to help you decide which strategies can work best for you. And today, as I mentioned, I'm talking with David Yarde. Welcome, David, to the program.
Thank you. Glad to be here.
Yeah, cool. So tell us a little bit about yourself, David.
So very passionate about design, kind of literally live, eat, breathe, sleep this thing. Started very, very young, figuring out that I like to pull things apart. So that makes up a lot of my tech background. So I guess we'll start with the Batman thing. A lot of people ask about that. It pairs from me being, when I used to do a lot of corporate work, working very late at night, so they kind of nicknamed me Batman. And then after a while, I had a little prank where I was like, hey, everybody, in your phone, change, my name to either Bruce Wayne or, Batman, and it was kind of like a joke. And then after a while, people just kind of like screenshot, David Yarde, and then they'll have like a little Batman symbol beside it. So it was really, really fun. And then from there, it was the first movie that my dad took me to see. And I just kind of like the concept of, justice, of using, figuring things out and using that part of your brain to kind of deduce what's going on. So a lot of that, really played well into what I do now with branding and design and development, where it's just been really amazing over the past 15 years doing a lot of what, I've been able to do.
Yeah, cool. So how did you decide then, I guess, to get in sort of the branding side of it and the user experience side of it as well?
So working a lot in advertising agencies, you see how beneficial it is to have a solid brand structure in place. There are a lot of moving parts. You have design doing their thing. You have development rolling out their strategy. You have the business analysts looking at what features are going into the site. And working with a lot of, smaller businesses, they kind of piece things out like, oh, I just need a website over here, or I need business cards. And then, you look at them 6 months or a year later, that site's gone, all your hard work is gone. Sure, you got paid, but, did you really leave anything that was beneficial to anybody? And so that kind of fueled the passion. It also happened right after the recession. And so we're looking at, what differentiates one company from another. Everyone could design something, but do you cater to something specific? Is your thing healthcare? Is your thing fitness? Are you more of a lifestyle brand? And so that's where, the need really came from to say, let's do something different. And so my wife and I sat down and kind of came up with the name Sevenality. The number 7 means quite a bit. For those that understand the story of creation, there's something intentional that happens throughout each and every day of that cycle. Yeah. And at the end, you have an ecosystem. And so that's kind of like where we try to drive the holistic experience of brand creation, brand strategy, and brand development.
Okay. And where's a good, how would you sort of take people through that developing that experience, developing that storyline. So how would you start, and what would be some of the steps that you would take businesses through?
So definitely the first thing is, where are you now? What is your idea? So good case in point, let's take a fitness brand for instance. Fitness trainer wants to level up. They've been doing pretty good. They have a nice, stable set of clients, but they can only sell so much of their time. And then they have a couple options. Well, they can add products or, other training to that. They can add, merchandising underneath that realm. They could even hire a team of people to push both of these things, more services and products.
Yeah.
But how do you get all of that going? How do you separate essentially that individual from the brand that they're trying to create? So we try to figure out, where are you now? What is the business case that you're really going after that is your ideal goal? And then from there, we look at the gap in between. So in the case of, this fitness owner, we're now looking at, all right, well, I want to have one or two other trainers with me that I can trust. So the first thing that, we're going to look at is, what are your brand assets that you have together? Do you have, a brand guideline? So if you're onboarding someone, they understand the elements of your brand. They understand how to use them in this social media age. They understand your messaging and your tone and who you're trying to attract. Do you have these assets in place that you can easily, pass off to someone else? And then the next thing we look at is, well, what is the audience or, area that you're in? Are you looking to target more of the area around you immediately? Have you really investigated all of the options in your immediate area? What are you doing online via social media? Are you tapping into those channels? So for us, a lot of it is very data centric. We want to look at who's interacting with your brand, what time they're interacting, and some of the parallels as well. They may be interested in fitness, but they may be also interested in home decor. So now you have a new outlet in which you can reach out and establish your brand presence within their mind and within their lifestyle. So those are some of the things that we kind of walk them through, making sure that they have the resources in place to get those things done, and then monitor and tweak and re-engage in various points after as well.
And so it's more of, how do you build like a long-term legacy, really, is what you're looking for. Is that right?
Yes, essentially.
Yeah. Because I think maybe you can comment on this, David, but I think we see a lot of the sort of the push it out there and get it done and create a logo and create a website, but there's no real sort of sustainability plan, no real long-term vision. Do you see the same, or?
I see very much a lot of that. I think, the dream or the dazzlement of becoming an entrepreneur has kind of fueled some of that as well, where you have a quick hit, you make some money, you live a really nice lifestyle, and, you're out, you may do something new again. But then you find that, a lot of these people are very prone to depression, prone to, not feeling really fulfilled. And if you look at companies that were started hundreds of years ago, or, example like JCPenney, they may not be in their greatest shape now, but they were founded, to build a really great experience around all the things you could find in your home. And Sears, they were kind of the same way. And in a way, when you drift away from that initial core purpose and mission, you end up, trying to be everything to everyone, as you could say. So that sustainability, when you're building a brand, you have both the short term and long term. You have, it's kind of like gardening. You have a plant. You have different times in which they'll mature, different times in which they'll, bear fruit or whatever it is. And you have to know what order or how much that you're planting. For a restaurant, you may need things like tomatoes, peppers, herbs. Your herbs are actually the ones that are going to come up first, be, readily usable. And then your peppers and tomatoes are going to be a little bit longer. So it's about what you're putting in the right order. It's kind of like, Jim Collins' book, Good to Great, the right people in the right place. With your brand, you're also looking about the right elements in the right place as well.
At the right time too, if I might add as well. Yeah, that's a cool analogy. I like that, because I think most people think that, oh yeah, I'll just plant carrots, and then it's like, well, carrot season is come and gone. So they kind of drop it or do something else, and they're not really focused. Whereas if you look at it like as a garden, then there's something else to cultivate and something else to kind of grow the interest as well. So yeah, that's a cool analogy. So are there any other sort of unique steps that you go through that create what is the ultimate goal of creating a brand experience though? Like why do you want to do that?
Well, first, to create, why you want to do it is you want to have a long-term vision around your brand, right? A lot of people that are growing with you. You're learning about their needs, learning about new ways in which you can provide a solution to their problem. Most business owners or entrepreneurs are fueled by that passion of solving a problem in their own way, shape, or form. And it's, why they take it so hard when, they failed in an instant. We're always our own worst critic, and in a way, that kind of reflects in our brands. So when we are building these things, we want them to be something that, does provide an income, but at the same time, it also provides a solution. And the best way to do that, over the longer term is not to run through people kind of like they're a line item or just, a new product or a person in your funnel, but more as a relationship that you're building, a community that you're building around your brand. People who, become your brand ambassadors, especially in the early stage of building, a brand where you may not have a lot of resources to go out and do a lot of advertising. But you always have those relationships that, you've built, you've invested in. And so as that grows and as that scales, it's, a matter of kind of compounding the effects of what you've instilled or passed on into that person and what they, aligned with in their search of a brand or something that occupies that space for them to kind of reflect out in their day-to-day life. And so, yeah, I mean, it's definitely over the longer term, it's you have that thing that you've built and you enjoy. But in the short term, I mean, you're still fulfilling that, I guess, entrepreneurial spirit of, the passion, the process of figuring things out and putting them together. And so, yeah, there's, you have to look at it from both the micro and the macro of here's what I'm doing on my day-to-day, like a garden, you're cultivating, you're checking, you're watering. And then on, the larger scale, when are things going to fall in place? A lot of it is timing. So, yeah.
Okay, cool. And that kind of leads into sort of the concept of community and humanity too. It's like, yeah, look, we are sort of progressing towards more digital stuff, but at the same time, you can't automate everything. And I think that's kind of what you're saying as well. Is that correct?
Yeah, I mean, there are the mundane tasks that you can simply automate, creating to-do lists. You can sit, create the process around that. But when it comes to the one-on-one things, and especially when it's design-based, there's a lot of emotion involved, right? You are communicating to them something that you want them to engage with in that moment. It's why restaurants tend to drift towards red color schemes. They want to incite, that passion to eat, hunger, things looking really kind of bold. And then, you look at other brands where it may be a bank where they're promoting, trust and security. So you have the colors that are surrounding that. Mm-hmm. And so, yeah, I mean, in the end, it really comes down to what are you trying to project into the world that you want to be that legacy, right? Do you want to be simply just a brand that was here, made a quick amount of money, things were good, you partied a lot, and then, that's it at the end of the day? Or do you want to be something that when people hear your name, like when somebody refers to Nike, for instance, right? You understand that they are fitness related, but then you understand that they do so much more than that too. And so there are so many ways and avenues. Starbucks is another great example. Huge community effort, especially after, that major hurricane in Louisiana. They were able to go in and deploy a workforce to actually do some good in an area. So your brand, it's literally more than just, at the end of the day, it's a sum of what you're consistently doing. So if you're consistently going out and simply just trying to rake people into your email list, then yeah, at the end of the day, that's what your brand will be. If you're trying to provide more value, trying to, make sure that every interaction between the screen and your brand is one that is engaging, you want to attract them with a good brand. But then the user experience is what builds out the community. It what makes people want to stick around, make them want to find out who else is in this space that is interested in what I'm interested in. And when those bonds form around a common purpose or a common goal, people talk about it naturally. They naturally become brand ambassadors. And then they want to go out and create different experiences for your brand that you probably wouldn't have thought about yourself. See, all these different things. And even something as simple as a sticker, could provide a huge marketing, what is the word I'm looking for? Marketing avenue for, a person going into your brand. And so, there are so many different ways to engage, but it starts with a solid foundation.
Yeah, no, exactly. And that's kind of how you grow the community and go from there then.
Yes.
Yeah, no, fantastic. And so what are sort of some final steps that people can take to kind of create that great experience, to, understand what they need to do to get things growing, to get the build the experience and build the community as well?
I would say documentation is key. It's very easy to kind of run through and say, yeah, I have a to-do list, but actually documenting what are the steps going through this. Small businesses, this is, I think, the biggest struggle that they have in scaling and leveling up, is they don't really know how to pass that information on. It's like, oh, well, this is how I do it. But then when it's done, they're like, oh, this person didn't do it the way I expected. Because there was no real process that was passed on. We're a firm believer in the process is a product. So if you go through and have a messy process, it's kind of like a cookie. It's going to be messy at the end if it's not, properly formed. So there's a lot of things that, if you're going to start with anything, start with documenting your process, what you do on a day-to-day basis. And then from there, you're able to see, all right, this is working, maybe I should investigate a new option to, make this thing happen over here. Oh, I could delegate this task over here. I can automate this task, or set of tasks, and free up some time. So yeah, I mean, documentation is definitely the first place I would start.
Yeah. Okay. Excellent. Thank you so much, David. Really appreciate your ideas and insights here. We got some really great background on how to create those experiences, how to develop those processes, and community as well. How can we find you on the online?
So I'm pretty much on anywhere except for, I guess, Snapchat these days. I'm still trying to figure my way around that. But you can find me online at DSMY, Twitter, Instagram, Facebook, YouTube, and then my personal site, davidyarde.com, and then, of course, sevenality.com.
Okay, perfect. Thanks. And we'll put all of those links in the notes that I'll publish along with the video coming up very soon. So excellent. So thanks again for joining me, David. And thanks for the audience for watching. And just a quick explanation in terms of there are 3 core categories that we go through as part of these digital leadership Facebook Live events. The State of Digital, where I talk about specific ideas and insights happening right now, how they affect your business and what you can do about it. Digital Leadership Guests, like I had today with David, where I interview an expert in the field and discuss their strategies for success. And then finally, a digital discovery strategy and marketing Q&A. This is on Friday, where I review tools, answer questions in Q&A, and talk about specific challenges as well. So thanks again, David. And if you do enjoy the program, please like and share and comment as well, wherever you see it on YouTube or Facebook or LinkedIn, whatever. And thanks again for your time. And we'll see you all online.